We are live, and today is Tuesday. Oh, I should unmute myself on Discord. Today is Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022, 3 weeks after the launch of PolyCUB, roughly. So
I believe it's been 3 weeks already.
Yeah, it's been an eventful time.
Time flies when you're making money.
Yep. When moon. So, I mean, honestly, this is the AMA, the weekly When Soon show. So the only real question is when moon. Soon. Everything else is details.
When moon equals soon.
When the emissions rate goes flat.
Emissions rate. So go ahead.
No, we can get into that. The emissions rate and everything. I think people are getting excited about it as they see it kind of coming into fruition.
As they should. Oh, I got to change my background. What am I doing here? Step up my game.
I was just logging into Facebook, and apparently something happened to Mayim Bialik.
Oh, really?
I don't know. It says will be missed.
Oh, wow.
So
she's got a show, I think, on Fox right now, like a current show.
No idea.
I guess possibly had.
Let's see. I'm just looking on Facebook for the stream. I do not see it. What is going on?
Where are we at? It still says sending data. That's good.
We are recording, though.
We are recording.
So we are recording, and I believe, Twitter's working.
Okay. I'm still incredulous that Twitter disabled like live commentary. I don't understand that at all.
Twitter gonna twit.
Yep.
I was gonna add Twitter Spaces to our streaming, but it's a little complicated because everyone has to join from their phone. So what I'll probably do for the next AMA is set it up on one of my phones where it'll like record the AMA live from one of it'll basically like play the AMA live on Twitter Spaces. So then we don't actually have to join in our phones and have another thing that we're talking through.
Okay.
Kind of like when I do not that I've done it often, but a TikTok live stream where my phone is literally pointed at my computer screen of me doing a crypto segment.
Pretty much, yep.
It's high tech.
Yeah, that's how Cat does it. Mad ghetto. And it's like, and I hang it from my microphone. I got like a clip that's not even it's actually for, it's a phone clip for like your car. But like, I just shove it onto here and it's a little awkward, but it works. I'm not buying all the high tech gadgets because I'm not trying to be an influencer.
Aren't you though?
I'm really not. In fact, honestly, I have a new rule when it comes to dating. If a girl tells me she's an influencer, she wants to be an influencer, I literally turn around and walk away.
God, I'm so glad I don't have to date anymore.
Just tell her you're the scaredy cat. You're scaredy cat guide. She'll look you up and it'll be a done deal.
That's what I should be doing. When I was out in Delray on Friday, me and my buddy were on fire. We were talking to a ton of different girls, and I somehow like left with 0 numbers. I couldn't close the deal apparently, and I should have just told them like, "Do you know who I am? Just go on Facebook."
Do you want some clout? Just look up Scaredy Cat Guide.
Be like, no. The best is I used to do this joke where I'd be like, "Do you know who my father is?" And they'd be like, "I don't care who your father is." And I'm like, "Man, I was hoping you could help me out." Usually got to laugh. I don't want to have to work this hard. I want to be like Neil and just chill in my basement office and rule the world with my headset.
Solution for you.
What's that?
Just get more people involved in PolyCUB, then get yourself a Lambo and then just park outside of a restaurant and just wait for them to come to you.
Here's the problem. I'm working hard, as you know, on getting people involved in PolyCUB, and I've already gotten a lot of people involved in PolyCUB, but I do not see how that equals me making money.
One Lambo, Mitch. One Lambo.
All right. Because unless they moon the price, that's the only way the cat would make money. And the cat needs more PolyCUB then.
One Lambo.
I don't know.
You got to manage.
And this is the conversation earlier. It seems like that is the writing on the wall. If I want to guarantee profits, manage the dollars.
Yep.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm gonna have to just, be coming around the Cal's front door with my hat in my hand. Please, sir, some spare change,
Spare PolyCUB.
some spare cub. Oh, we're gonna moon the hell out of this. I can't wait.
All right. Well, let's actually talk some PolyCUB stuff because theoretically this is a LeoFinance show.
Oh, I thought this was comedy hour. My bad. I'll put on the other hat. I apologize. We gotta give the people what they want.
So yesterday or the day before, we crossed 15x on the PolyCUB to X PolyCUB ratio. And there were some posts out by DAOs and some others that we are halfway through the inflationary period in terms of number of tokens. So Cal, you wanna break that down, what all that means for the non emissions tracking people?
Yeah. So essentially what that means, and I'll drop this here in Discord. So the way that we designed PolyCUB is to have this basically hyper accelerated version of the Bitcoin halving cycle. And the idea behind that is that, we have obviously, if you've been following the AMAs, that we have this outpost idea, which we're still waiting on a community member to come up with a great name for it, to basically create all these self-sustaining, and this is my personal tagline, choice, self-sustaining bases on other blockchains.
SS Boob, yeah.
And essentially PolyCUB is the first of those. And what we're watching play out right now is whether or not this idea is successful. And so far, I think it's been wildly successful in terms of X PolyCUB and watching the platform gain more and more stability over time. So obviously on the first few days of launch and within week one, there was extreme volatility, ridiculous volatility. And the reason for that is because we essentially started the supply at zero, and obviously of the airdrop, but the airdrop is daily over a 60-day period of time. So within week one, only 7 days of the airdrop had taken place. So there weren't that many tokens. We essentially started at zero. Then the only tokens that were distributed through a high emissions rate. So by distributing those tokens, you have this really wild volatility because the emissions rate is so high. So I did a short podcast with Taskmaster, and we kind of talked about some of this stuff and how PolyCUB started as this DeFi 1.0 setup, where at the beginning you've got this high emissions rate, and we're still in that period, but the emissions rate is nearly half of what it was in week one. So, and obviously now, in addition to the emissions rate being almost half, you've also got the fact that tokens have already been distributed pretty widely. So now there's a wide set of holders. There's a lot of tokens already out there, and then obviously the emissions rate is lower, so the price is a lot more stable these days. So you've been seeing it just kind of bounce within like a 10-cent range over the last week, and that's kind of the idea, is that you start with this high level of volatility, you bottle up that volatility with the protocol and liquidity, and over time that volatility is reduced as basically as the emissions rate goes down and as those tokens are emitted. So if you look at that chart that Dolls did, we're currently halfway through that kind of steep curve. So as you can see, that curve basically goes like this. It's very steep in the beginning. You see that tokens are emitted very quickly, and that these early days, these first 3 weeks, are essentially designed to be like mining Bitcoin in like 2012, where you could have been earning thousands and thousands of Bitcoin, and obviously Bitcoin wasn't worth that much. So some people saw the future. They mined a lot of Bitcoin and they held it, and now they're the Winklevoss twins. Basically over time, if you look at the way that Bitcoin played out, the idea for PolyCUB is very similar, where you've got this high emissions rate, this high mining rate, and low mining difficulty, where you can just spread tokens out really easily in the beginning for the first few weeks. And obviously it's extremely accelerated. And we're kind of halfway through that curve, which means that about, what is it, like 3.2 million PolyCUB, 3.8 million PolyCUB are emitted so far. And obviously 1 million of that is the airdrop, which has been there since the beginning, and it's being slowly distributed. So all those PolyCUBs are out there now, and that is over just about halfway, the halfway point for the total supply of PolyCUB. You know, the ending supply will be right around 7.2 million if you run the numbers. And what that means is that the best time to mine PolyCUB was 2 weeks ago. The second best time is now, and really it's just going to get harder and harder to mine PolyCUB. So we are actually seeing this experiment play out pretty closely to what we expected, which is that you have these extreme levels of volatility in the early days, and we're kind of in like the mid days now. So you had the early days where, you know, price went up to $5, price went down to $1, price went to $3, and it was just all over the place. And then you kind of moved into that was week one. Week two, you moved into this pace of the price kind of evened out. It kind of bottomed out after the week one volatility with all those crazy emissions, and then week two you kind of saw it level out and then slowly increase. And now we're in week three where the volatility is even a lot less than week two, and that volatility is just going to keep getting reduced over time. So what I'm interested to see play out. And obviously when bonding goes live, this is all going to get a lot more interesting, but you're going to see this PC XPC ratio continue to increase, and you're going to see the volatility decrease. And yeah, like Abdex said in the AMA chat, 7.2 million is pretty low. Yeah, the supply of PolyCUB is designed to be extremely low, and it's designed in a way where when you start taking bonding and collateralization into account, the price is designed to always go up. So it's when number go up becomes always number go up in the long run.
Cat's asking when PolyCUB price $100. Soon. That's fun to think about.
Well, as long as there's not whale selling.
Well, with collateralized loans, you don't need a sub.
Right.
Well, this is true. If we can borrow against, then
yeah,
PolyCUB
is designed to be kind of like, and I kind of had this idea after the launch of PolyCUB, you know, in talking with people like Taskmaster, that PolyCUB is almost like an NFT series for the LeoFinance community. And so if you think about it like that, it's almost like this limited release set of tokens where essentially, if you hold them forever because you believe in the LeoFinance community, you know, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years out, you can just take collateralized loans against them, similar to how you would with Bitcoin. Because, you know, I think if you're here, you probably believe a lot in Bitcoin. Like, I know for me, I don't really sell Bitcoin. I just take out loans against it on like Coinbase and BlockFi, or in DeFi products like MakerDAO. So instead of selling an asset that you think will go up in perpetuity, you would hold it and take a loan against it. So the idea is that PolyCUB is going to be very similar to that, because you know, and kind of the cool thing is that you've got this limited set of tokens, 7.2 million, and on top of that, it earns yield from the protocol owned liquidity, buying back PolyCUB and putting it into that rewards pool every day. So if you're holding PolyCUB as X PolyCUB, the idea is you're going to hold that, you know, for 5, 10, 20 years, and you're holding it and you're earning an APR. You know, maybe you're earning 30% or 50% a year when everything levels out from protocol and liquidity. So imagine holding X PolyCUB, you know, for the next 5 years, and you're earning, just say like conservatively, you're earning 20% APR. So you're earning, you know, an interest rate of 20%, and then you're holding an X PolyCUB, and you can take loans against it when you want some liquidity to trade or put into another pool. And those loans are actually self-paying, and we copied that from Thorchain with the self-paying LP idea, because the interest rate for the loan essentially is less than the APR that's being earned on those X PolyCUB tokens. So then that loan interest is just automatically being paid off. So the idea is you could actually just keep taking loans forever, and then those loans just keep getting paid off slowly from that APR. So that's kind of the idea behind PolyCUB in the long run. I know a lot of people ask, you know, what's the point of PolyCUB once the emissions rate levels out? Because right now the point is you buy PolyCUB and you earn it as fast as you can. It's like a race to earn this emissions rate while it's so high. That's kind of like the purpose of DeFi 1.0. And that's the stage that PolyCUB is in right now. But if you understand the future, then you know that earning PolyCUB right now is like earning this limited set of tokens that it's never going to be above that roughly 7 million figure. And if you're earning it right now, you're getting more and more of a stake in something that's scarce. So essentially like earning Bitcoin when in the early mining days.
Yeah, I was actually tracing out the emissions on Sunday, and I came up with a little map for all the different farms and everything. And I found out that, so far about 90% of people who earn harvesting rewards have been taking the penalty. So 10% have been leaving it locked up for the 90 days, but then 90% are taking it now and paying the fees. With that in mind, those 50% flow into XPolyCUB. XPolyCUB also gets its own emissions directly from the protocol, and all combined, about 61% of all PolyCUB is going into the XPolyCUB vault, which is just a staggering figure.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about the we're up to 3.8 million, but the first million of that was airdrop, right?
Right.
So if we take 61% of the 2.8 million, that's excluding the airdrop, that's only 1.7 million PolyCUB. And I'm looking at the pool right now, there's 2.3 million in there, which means that a bunch of people are staking their airdrops, and they're also staking their liquid earnings that they get from PolyCUB, which is what I'm doing.
Oh no.
Neil
They found out
froze.
Neil's master plan and they froze him.
That's a good freeze frame. We should screenshot that. I feel like that's a great pick to use for some marketing.
I mean,
I missed
everybody's
it.
just-
Oh, he's back.
I'm back.
I needed like another second to screenshot that. You
Sorry.
had it was the perfect like marketing look. You're like,
Yeah.
So it cut off at about what you're doing with your liquid.
Yeah, so I was just saying that's what I'm doing with my liquid PolyCUB also. So I'm getting my airdrop, I am harvesting my pools, taking the penalty, and then taking everything that remains and putting it back into XPolyCUB, and just trying to grow my stake, organically, but as quickly as possible. And obviously I bought a bunch on launch day and everything, so I'm doing all right. But yeah, it's just showing that there is, beyond just raw emissions, that extra 600,000 or so PolyCUB that's in the vault is showing people's demand for it. So I think at least a good chunk of the community understands at this point that that's where the future is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it would be cool to see some charts about the staking rate. Maybe Dallas can put something together.
Yeah.
Dallas drops good content.
Just tell me how much PolyCUB I need to buy to be rich, and I go away. All of it.
You buy all of it.
MOAR more.
More.
That's how
The
much.
answer is you will never have enough.
Q said the answer is how much money do you have?
The answer is ask Michael Saylor if he has enough Bitcoin.
Yes, exactly.
We just ticked over 15.5 on the ratio.
Every day I wake up and say,
Yeah.
crap, I don't have enough. And
Yeah, well, pool early, pool often, ape early, ape often.
well, I just aped my airdrop into XPoly while we were on this call.
There you go.
Just feeding it every day. The money just goes back in. It's the ultimate addiction.
And then Cal, you put out a roadmap post a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Which suggested we might get bonds this week.
Yeah, I'm quite confident that we'll have bonds this week.
I'll not fall for this. Neil, it's a trap. Don't fall for it.
Yeah, I'm quite confident about it. It's looking good.
So there was some, lots of people are confused still about what a bond is. There was some discussion in the Discord about what's the point? There was some confusion over bonding PolyCUB assets versus external assets. Can you give us a quick rundown of all that stuff?
Yeah. So bonding is very interesting. It's essentially what you're doing is you're trading LP tokens with the protocol owned liquidity. So the protocol owned liquidity, let's say, is a treasury that owns a lot of PolyCUB. When the bonding UI goes live, you'll be able to go to polycub.com/bonding, and you'll see this page where there's different bonds that you can participate in, and each bond has a separate ROI, and essentially that ROI is determined by the amount of PolyCUB that's available in that bond and the competition over the bond. So basically the calculation is you take the value of the LP asset versus the value of the PolyCUB, and you're taking the difference between those two, and then you're also comparing how much PolyCUB is in the contract and available for bonding. So it's very much a supply and demand mechanism. And what that ROI ends up being, 5-10%, or sometimes it might even be a negative ROI for bonding, just depending on if people are like taking advantage of it. It's going to be, obviously the negative yield on the bonds is not going to be like a lasting thing, because once the bond flips, like say it's -1%, like people aren't going to want to trade their LP tokens for -1% return. So instead they'll wait for it to flip positive. So then it'll flip, and every second basically it starts to flip positive until someone else buys into the bond. So you're trading your LP assets for PolyCUB at potentially a discounted rate, depending on the market dynamics. And I know a lot of people ask about, like, why would anyone, or why would the protocol want to buy PolyCUB-USDC or PolyCUB-WETH as kind of like these native LPs? Because then the protocol owned liquidity won't be earning external revenue, which is kind of one of the driving points. One reason for that is that when there's PolyCUB-WETH or PolyCUB-USDC in the protocol and liquidity, it's forever liquidity. So it's permanent liquidity that will be there forever for PolyCUB. So there's some important points to that, and there's plenty of projects out there that have done it. There's a lot on Thorchain that have done it, like even the Thor token that have basically created their own permanent liquidity. Thorchain itself, actually, with the Thorchain treasury, is doing Rune LPs with permanent liquidity now. So basically, the protocol is going to be comprised. The protocol owned liquidity is comprised of PolyCUB native farms, and then also the similar to like Kingdom's assets, where it's going to be pooling on other platforms. So I think a lot of people are confusing that as, like, if the protocol has a bond for PolyCUB-USDC, for example, that's like the only bond that exists, and it's not even going to make up like the largest percentage of the treasury. So the protocol will look to get more external assets than native assets, but it is still very important to have those native assets, because then you have that forever liquidity. And obviously you want to create permanent liquidity while also creating that external revenue, which will buy back PolyCUB and create the long-term LP incentives. And I do think when this bonding page goes live, people are gonna get really excited, because it's got a lot of figures about the actual protocol and liquidity itself, so you'll be able to watch that treasury grow. And I think the watching that treasury grow is going to be very bullish for people, because they're going to start calculating what that means and the growth rate. So I do think it's going to get very exciting when you start to calculate and extrapolate the growth rate of the protocol and liquidity.
All right. And confident this week is the latest word.
Confident.
It's not a promise, but it's yeah. Let's see. Bunch of chatter going on, but I'm not seeing any questions specifically.
Yeah, we're just having fun in chat.
Yeah.
It's a party.
It's a party. You can really see the ebbs and flows in the market by how many people show up for the AMA, because it's when people are making money, they're a lot more excited. as opposed to, Bitcoin falling 60% or whatever.
Yeah.
But we're up to 43 as of last night. I don't know what it is to say.
It keeps teasing everybody, but it means nothing because it's still stuck in that same 10,000 point range it's been in for 2 months now.
Yeah.
Until it gets above 45, I'm not even getting out of bed. And until it gets under 35, I'm also not getting out of bed.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I know
But hey, we got higher lows.
this is well, the range just keeps getting tighter, is what happens. You're literally, it's like literally just getting tighter and tighter. So it's going to basically springboard. We're going to get a volatile move. It's just a matter of what direction. It's looking possibly like up based on the price action over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, if you look at it, it just keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter.
Yeah.
So we're going to get a big green energy candle or a big red energy candle up or down. It's not if, it's when.
Well, if you had to place a bet, would you say it's going to be up or is it going to be down?
I'm going to lean towards up just because of the recent price action. It's been tightening, like you said, higher lows. It's been pushing the upside more than the downside. And right now, I mean, like you said, we're at 42. So it's there right now. It's set up for it. So we'll see what happens. Otherwise, if we don't push higher, then it's just going to be more of the same. And we're going to turn back down and stay in the range. So obviously the smart bet is to bet that it would go up because that's what it's better positioned to do in the here and now.
Gotcha.
So, which I will take, even though I will end up getting blown out of my short hedge that I've had on for like 2 months at this point.
Oh, you still have that on?
Still have it on. Hey, I'm collecting liquidity fees, but I personally still rooting for Bitcoin to go down just because I want to buy more down at 30. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, the order books are stacked with orders at 32, 30. Like if you all the centralized exchanges, there's like millions of dollars waiting to buy Bitcoin at 32, at 30, at 28.
Which means it won't happen.
Exactly. Streams actually say tens of millions or hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
So probably won't happen. And I'm fine with that because you know what? I don't know about you guys. I'm ready for crypto bull market time to come back. I'm tired of this down sideways nonsense.
Everybody loves a bull market.
Everybody does love a bull market.
Except for Peter Schiff, I guess. But Crypto Lemon is saying somebody had a question on Twitter, but I don't see any comments. I don't know if it's
oh yeah. Are you on Facebook or should I jump on that?
I am on Facebook and I still don't see the stream.
Neil's on all the things. Cat's just basically being a slacker today and
that's all right.
Providing comic relief.
Comic relief is important. We value your contributions.
There you go. Got to keep it entertaining.
Oh, he didn't mean about Cub. There's lots of questions on Twitter. Well, I mean, in general, that's a true statement, but I don't know if that's related to what we're doing right now. Yeah, somebody was asking about on Cub DeFi, if the stable coin pool was being compounded or the Belt Kingdom on Cub DeFi.
Yeah, I think it is compounding a little bit slower than usual, and largely because of the Belt APY. So it still compounds at a rate that is supposed to be optimal.
Oh, so it adjusts over time?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Does it adjust on the website with the compounds per year number?
Probably not. That's probably a static figure. We'd have to build an API for that.
Okay.
But yeah, I do think we're going to get a little bit of a Cub Kingdoms refresh soon with some new vaults, because a lot has changed, especially with Belt and these. I'm really interested in these basically like cross chain stablecoin pools. I think they're very interesting. So I think we're probably going to get into one of those next.
Yeah, like I guess Belt does have one. It's got like Binance Smart Chain and Hiko and so there's a third one.
Forgot what it is too.
Public safety alert, Gwinnett Police.
But yeah, there's a lot of interesting things happening in terms of these pools and cross chain.
Yeah, that is an interesting new world. Theoretically, if you have the same asset on multiple chains, it works. You just have to be careful with your liquidity. And okay, so Lemon is saying, realistically, where do you think or hope the X PolyCUB ratio will level out from minima on Twitter? I don't see that comment anywhere. That's very strange. But yeah, do you think the X PolyCUB ratio is going to flatten out along with emissions, or will it keep going higher?
It will continue to go up forever. And the only way that it would never go up again is if actually it's going to go up forever. It's just going to level out, as in it's going to level out in terms of the, right now we're on this curve and it's going to start to go like this.
Yeah, so it's going to go slower as emissions drop.
Right.
Okay,
but it will always increase. So
yeah. And Flower, we'll get back to that, but One Alpha is asking about future self-sustaining bases on other blockchain airdrops. So Avalanche Cub and Thor Cub and Phantom Cub and whatever.
Cub for the win.
Cub for the win. Are they going to be based only on your Cub DeFi stake or on PolyCUB stake, or will each one build on the last one?
Good question. Yeah, so it's going to be based on your Cub stake. So if you follow the white paper of Cub, it's the idea is that Cub is the launch pad, and that's why we built out the IDO system. That's why we built out the airdrop system. So this is all Cub. Yeah, exactly. My free BTC. Cub is the mother project. It's like if you have Cub, it is the base layer of the DeFi stack. And then with these self-sustaining bases, the idea is that they're self-sustaining. So you build out a base where you have this long-term yield platform on another blockchain. And that is that's really the vision. So with Cub, we're launch padding all these different bases. And with each base, it's designed to be, standalone on its own and kind of have that long-term value prop. So what I think is going to be really cool to see with all these features that we've built for PolyCUB. So obviously the rollout of these features, and I kind of talked about this in the roadmap. Bonding is going to be the first thing that we roll out, and then that collateralized lending structure is going to be the next. And in general chat yesterday, I was talking in Discord about the Cub UI, and we talked about this a few AMAs ago. Is that we're building like a multi-chain Cub UI, so that you'll basically log into one Cub website and then you'll be able to flip between the different blockchains. So what's going to be cool about that is that you'll be able to do the collateralized lending and the protocol and liquidity and bonding all from one UI, but on these different chains. And they're all kind of interconnected. So it's definitely interesting to think about the future of both Cub as the launchpad and PolyCUB and all the other self-sustaining bases as these very like long-term scarce supply assets that you can hold. I think people are going to be very surprised by how PolyCUB plays out in the long run. I think it's going to be very similar to Bitcoin, where you kind of look at you can look at the short-term volatility, you can look at week to week or day to day, and it's all over the place. But if you look at that long term, like people look at the logarithmic charts of Bitcoin, you just see it go up in perpetuity. I really think that's how PolyCUB plays out.
Yeah, I know you have expressed surprise over the past few weeks that more people aren't, diving onto Cub DeFi because of that future airdrop value. Because in token terms, the PolyCUB airdrop is something like 8% of your Cub tokens. But with the early pricing, that's probably already paid for 100% of your Cub value.
Yeah.
If you were staking and maintaining all that. And then there's going to be airdrop after airdrop. So if you have a longer term vision, then you might say, well, maybe I should get that base asset and get those future airdrops over time rather than just the latest one. But Yeah, we're still. I mean, PolyCUB is about 3 times higher than Cub DeFi right now. So it's people
Yeah,
are
and the
still
idea
aping into
is
the new
that
one.
these yield optimizers will, like PolyCUB, this is going to be like all these EVM chains. This trend of new EVM chains that are building a lot of liquidity, that's not going to end anytime soon. So what we're doing is building all these different yield optimizers where the community will be able to bridge over to any blockchain and start earning yield and basically build a stake on a new blockchain. And all those opportunities are kind of bridged together.
Yeah, I would appreciate the single UI. That'd be pretty nice.
Yeah, that is coming, and it will be tied with Leo Bridge too. So you'll be able to do everything from one UI.
Awesome. Let's see. Apparently, there's an Avalanche conference starting today in Barcelona, as the locals say. Flowey's asking, I don't know what he's asking about. Tell us more about the Hive and HBD idea you twittered earlier, Cal, me, and Scaredy Cat. I'm not even sure what he's referring to.
Yeah, I tweeted about a new vault that we're going to be deploying in the Sooniverse. So let's see if I can pull it. Here we go. So with PolyCUB, what we're doing is really interesting, and building all these tools and connecting them together is really the key to all of this. So we've basically got this whole system that we built for Cub and PolyCUB, which is that we can do an Oracle for Hive and HBD, where people can LP it on the platform. So I basically put out this tweet and I said, what if you could use your Hive and HBD to become an AMM on polycub.com, then collateralize those LP tokens and take a loan from the protocol and liquidity? Would you use it? And with no surprise, a lot of people are saying that they would use it. So it's gonna be cool to see that come
out. So are you saying that is going to happen?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna happen.
Interesting.
Right. So you'll be able to, so the protocol will actually stake the HBD for the 12% on-chain reward on Hive. And then obviously it'll be moved over to HBD, wrapped HBD on the Polygon network. And then we'll create an LP for that. And then you would be able to take those LP tokens, collateralize them for a loan. And then, so the protocol and liquidity will be earning from the staking rewards and from the loan APR.
Okay. So I see Addicted is here with us today, and so I can't let this go without pointing out that there's with HBD specifically. Hive is a different story, but HBD specifically, there's kind of a chicken and egg problem, because there are no AMMs really for HBD. Liquidity on exchanges is very thin. Liquidity on the internal Hive market is very thin. So if you're talking about any kind of serious quantity, then your only route is conversions, and then you're theoretically buying a stable coin, but you're exposing yourself to market volatility over those conversion days. So how do we get a serious amount of HBD into the AMM in the first place?
It will be kind of a similar. It's the wrapping oracle for PLEO, basically similar.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying, like, who's going to have enough HBD to make that work?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's hard to buy.
Oh, I got you. So you're talking about HBD liquidity itself on the Hive blockchain.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's kind of the interesting thing, right? Is that HBD is primarily earned on Hive. It's not really, you can't just go out and buy 100,000 HBD if you want,
right?
Which is obviously a problem. So what I kind of anticipate happening is that this liquidity is going to be built up slowly over time. And people do have a lot of HBD sitting on the Hive blockchain. There are some accounts that have a lot. And Flowey's saying his company would put in 12,000 HBD. So I do anticipate that a lot of HBD would flow in. Then the cool thing is now we've created probably the biggest liquidity pair for HBD that exists.
Yeah.
So, you know, most people can't get their hands on enough HBD. And then obviously once this PolyCUB HBD pool comes out, it'll be, you know, the #1 source for HBD trading, which obviously drives some fees into the platform, and it'll drive a lot of attention from Hive users to the PolyCUB platform for sure.
Okay.
And with Leo Bridge in place, what we're doing is we're basically making it easier than ever to on-ramp and off-ramp Hive and HBD to other cryptocurrencies and other blockchains. So, you know, a lot of people have this onboarding issue with Hive, which is where do you buy it, where do you exchange it, if you're kind of a normie, and we're kind of solving that issue because with Leo Bridge and obviously Wrap Leo is moving to Thorchain, you're gonna be able to bridge assets in through the Leo Bridge, and basically, you know, so like let's say that you've got Bitcoin or USDC on Coinbase and you're a normie and someone's trying to teach you how to get some Hive or HBD, you will essentially be able to just go to the Leo Bridge website. You'll get a USDC deposit address, you'll put it in Coinbase, and then it'll send across the bridge and output Hive and HBD. So you know, right now the few exchanges that have Hive and HBD listed, like Hive is listed on very few exchanges, HBD is listed on even fewer exchanges, really, if any at all, with Bittrex kind of not supporting it anymore. So it's going to be, we're essentially, I believe we're going to be the #1 exchange for Hive and HBD in the long run. And that is through Leo Bridge. So Leo Bridge will be the #1 exchange for Hive and HBD. Flowy's follow-up question is, would you consider Hive and HBD bonding? So yeah, that second part of the tweet is, what if you could collateralize those LP tokens and take a loan from the protocol and liquidity? So yeah, the idea is that, yeah, we would allow Hive and HBD as a loan collateral in that.
Very interesting. And Addicted saying block trade's gonna love that. Competition.
Yeah, well, this is obviously the cool thing about all this is that this is a decentralized bridge. It's all smart contract based. So, you know, when you input a swap and output a swap, it's all just happening through the contracts, through the smart contracts we've deployed on all the different blockchains. So it's you know, there's no centralized database that's entering in that you inputted something and outputted something. It's just through a smart contract, which is the future.
And let's see, Blue Robo is putting up a chart of HBD in savings. Looks like, is that in millions? 3 million? It's hard to tell the zeros, but yeah.
It looks like 3 million.
$3 million.
Well, and I think this would encourage a lot of a lot more HBD headed towards savings.
Well, yeah, I mean, so HBD paying 12% just by itself is moderately attractive in the current market. So, you know, you have your curve stables, they're paying like 5-6%. You got Terra paying, you know, 17 to 20%. So HBD 12% is in there. And when they made that change, I was initially, you know, kind of interested because, you know, obviously I've talked about doing stable DeFi quite a bit. But then I ran into liquidity issues. It's just not possible to put in a couple $100,000. So now if we have an HBD pool, it's going to be, have you decided what it's going to be against? Is it going to be against Hive? Is it going to be against USDC? Is it going to be against PolyCUB?
To be determined. I believe it's going to be paired against a stable coin though.
So
I think that would be the most attractive.
That would be the most attractive to me anyway. So now you're talking about, okay, 12% internal returns plus, you know, the whatever emissions it gets plus whatever trading fees it gets. And it could be, you know, 30%, 50%, who knows? And
the goal will be that if you stake HBD into the LP, you will be earning 20% or higher, stable. Yeah. As a stable return.
That becomes, you know, very attractive in the current market. So yeah, I could see that driving a lot of liquidity that way. You know, right now the Ave kingdom is paying way more than that. So so not until that is fully diluted. But yeah,
Yep.
that is interesting. Um, I'm trying to scroll back and we've got a whole bunch of questions that kind of popped up throughout all the chatter
Yeah,
here.
Drux has got one, which I guess is appropriate for the scaredy cat to ask based on the type of question it is. So he said, excuse me, if the PolyCUB contract for the Bitcoin ETH kingdom was hacked, would one only lose the PolyCUB as BTC ETH contract is on sushi, trying to do some risk analysis?
Not sure what he's asking about.
So basically, what's the exposure if that
If
contract got hacked, I think is the general question.
right, if the kingdom contract got hacked for the ETH Bitcoin kingdom.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, it's been audited by CertiK. That's why it was extremely important to us to get the audit done first. So, you know, the potential attack vectors were all analyzed by CertiK on that, because so you can pull up the contract itself and look through it, obviously, and then obviously the audit report is on CertiK if you want to look through what vectors they picked out. But yeah, I mean, if the vault was hacked, then I guess it kind of depends on the hack. You know, is that attack vector something that prevents it from auto compounding, or, you know, and basically that would just prevent the contract from auto compounding itself, or is it an attack vector where it can basically rug all the deposits that are in there? So it really just depends, but yeah, I mean, the contract's been audited, so.
Okay.
I'm
So
not worried about it.
yeah. So I mean, you
And
know,
if you trust an audit, I mean, I guess in this space, like, what more can you trust than an audit? So, you know, there's
yes,
plenty
and
of
there's
platforms
always
where they say their security is relying on, you know, an internal audit, or, you know, whatever they come up with about how it's audited. But yeah.
in the end, there's always investment risk. And basically, it sounds like the answer to that question is, if God forbid something like that happened, you really don't know, because it depends on what type of attack it is. Follow-ups are, does anyone really know how it's pronounced? Is it literally Certic or is it Certic? Like, because I know there's the big K at the end,
Yeah.
but I mean, I worked at a restaurant when I was in high school called like Landmark, and it had the L as a capital L and the K as a capital K, and everyone used to call it Landmark K, even though that wasn't the name of it. So I always wonder, I'm like, is it Certic or is it Certic? I'm like, they're throwing people off with that big K. I think the people need to know.
I think it's Certic. I mean, I always say Certic, but
Is that how they answer the phone when you're berating them and say, where's my freaking contracts?
yeah, exactly.
Oh, I might have to call their support desk just to hear how they answer the phone.
They probably won't answer.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, they probably won't answer.
Yeah.
Voicemail.
Let's see. My free BTC is asking about the lending feature on XPoly. Couldn't a whale trigger a massive margin call that would send the price on a massive downfall? And well, you'd have to drop the price first, and then. But what's your response to that, Cal?
Yeah, so the basically the way that it works is, and obviously all of us here are familiar with Hive. The rewards curve on Hive is over a 3.5 day moving average, basically, and that's how the vault will work. So it uses an average. So if a whale comes in and dumps the PolyCUB price in an effort to basically trigger a sell off, it's that vault will over time start to basically follow this curve, which will give plenty of other people the opportunity to basically buy out PolyCUB and prevent that from happening, or pay off their loans and prevent the liquidation. So yeah, that's
you'll have a little bit of heads up.
Yep. Yeah. So you'll have you know, and the UI will be cool, because it'll basically, like, every time you log into the UI, it'll, at the top, if you have taken out a collateralized loan, at the top, there's going to be a big banner that says, what your collateralization health is. So, like for me, when I log into like Coinbase, it shows me right when I log in, it says your loan health is, 46%. And so we'll have the same feature on PolyCUB where when you log in, it's going to say your loan health is this. And it's going to say what the current moving average price of PolyCUB is for the vault. And obviously if there's like a mass liquidation trigger, we'll essentially see like this flashing message that will show that your loan health needs to be covered by, X date. So, if it's in the next like 12 hours or 24 hours, when that curve starts to make your loan health basically get unhealthy, just put it in the simplest terms, then you'll have to either add more PolyCUB collateral or pay off the loan. And obviously if someone's triggered a big sell-off and now you can buy PolyCUB super cheap, and that it's like this big, the only purpose of that sell-off is to try to trigger the liquidations, then I think there's plenty of other whales that have loans that would just buy up a bunch of PolyCUB and deposit it as collateral, because then when the price fixes itself, they can take out an even bigger loan. So I think it's kind of a self-healing system, but the mass liquidation issue is usually triggered by flash crashes in the crypto prices. So, if you go back to like this MakerDAO crisis, I remember in 2020, where a lot of vaults got liquidated, and I had a lot of CDP positions. I didn't get any liquidations because I kept my loan health really, really healthy. I kept my percentage super high. So I basically never had an issue. So that flash loan crisis would have been prevented if there was a moving average instead of an instant liquidation. So the problem comes into play when the liquidation is instantaneous, because if there's a flash crash, the price goes down. Bitcoin flash crashed to like $3,000 or something in 2020. So but within a day or two, it had recovered the majority of that. So it's like, if you can prevent that flash crash issue, then you're good.
Yeah. And I realized as you're talking that probably a lot of people have no idea what you're saying. So in a collateralized debt position, this is explanatory stuff. Collateralized debt position, you have PolyCUB in the X PolyCUB vault, and you say, I want to take a loan against that. Let's say you have $10,000 of capital in there. The platform is not going to let you take out all $10,000. First of all, they're going to usually limit's going to be like 70% or something like that. So you got 10 in there, you can borrow 7. You don't have to borrow 7 though. You could borrow 2, right? And obviously if it's 2 against 10, you have a lot more buffer room than if you have 7 against 10. And that's what we mean by loan health. The more room you have above your borrowing position, the healthier your loan is, because you're at the least risk of price impacts liquidating your position. Because if the price comes down, you used to have 10 and you borrowed 7, and now you have 7 and you borrowed 7, then the protocol basically unwinds the loan and takes your collateral. Those exact ratios are to be determined, but that's how collateralized debt positions work. That's what a liquidation is. So for anybody who isn't like all down on the lingo, I hope that helps.
I think it does. Loan to value. Loan to
loan to
value is
value,
important. The
LTV.
lower your loan to value, the more quote unquote equity you have, which is basically the less risk you have of that loan being called.
Yep.
An idea I'm playing with too is rather than the protocol, let's say that a person's vault gets liquidated, and the protocol has to take back their X PolyCUB and basically unwind it back into LP assets. One thing I'm playing with is instead of just dumping that, basically unwinding X PolyCUB to PolyCUB and then dumping the PolyCUB on the market, is if it unwinded X PolyCUB into PolyCUB and then released a bond, released it into the bonding pools, because obviously the bonding is going to go on in perpetuity, where basically people will be able to bond with the protocol. So instead of the protocol just selling the PolyCUB directly on the market and making the price go down even further, which is kind of how these liquidation crises happen, is basically because the protocols take the assets from users, as they liquidate them, then they dump those assets on the market, and it creates this kind of cascading effect. Instead of doing that, the protocol could basically take back that PolyCUB, add it to the bonding pool, and then over a 5-day period, it can bond that PolyCUB back out and get LP assets
I like it.
in exchange. Yeah,
Because then you're deepening the liquidity pool and you're mitigating any future price impacts.
right. So it's kind of creates a more virtuous cycle. So that's an idea that I'm kind of toying with right now, which is what happens in the event of a liquidation on a ex PolyCUB loan.
Yep, I dig it.
And then obviously, if we start taking other loan assets, so the idea is we can do, your P-Leo-matic pool. You'll be able to collateralize that, take out a loan against it, and then this Hive HBD idea, collateralize it, take out a loan. Obviously, a sell-off event in the PolyCUB asset itself would be a little bit different under those scenarios, since the loan collateral isn't PolyCUB itself.
All right. Beehiver's asking, is IDO number 2 still in the cards for a Cub DeFi?
Yeah, IDO number 2 is still in the cards. So I think we talked about that in the last AMA.
Yep.
So,
but it's asked every week, so
yeah.
Want to hit that?
Yeah,
that question was way up there, Neil. Way to keep track, buddy.
Yeah, I'm like 50 messages behind on the chat, but
when soon? It's in this universe. We'll see.
It's in this universe.
Yeah, I don't want to give a timeline on, because they're obviously an independent team. I don't want to give any more timelines on things that are outside of my control.
That's interesting with the liquidations thing, because I mean, obviously, if it gets liquidated, it doesn't just go essentially into liquid PolyCUB that gets dumped on the market as traditionally would happen, and instead it goes into the bonding. We're pulling supply out of the market when people. It's actually like when a negative thing happens, it's having a positive effect, because someone gets liquidated and it's literally taking that supply off the market, at least short term.
Yeah.
Well, how does that work though? Because let's say Neil or I bond, right? We're bonding, but over 5 days, we're essentially getting PolyCUB for that bonding. If the lending protocol liquidates and then puts that into bonding, then I'm assuming that PolyCUB comes to the lending treasury or whatever over the 5 days.
Say that one more time.
So if let's say Neil or I, put LP into a bond, right?
Yeah.
And then in return, we're going to get PolyCUB at a discounted rate, ideally over a 5-day span. I think you said it was going to be.
Yeah.
All right. So now if the lending protocol liquidates someone's position, right? And then that PolyCUB, instead of just dumping it on the market, puts it into the bonding mechanism, for lack of a better word, is the PolyCUB that is earned from that over 5 days, is that basically just going to push back into the lending treasury? Why? I assume it would, because it's no different than if Neil or I put an LP into the bond. It's just the lending protocol putting the.
Right. So I'd say the best way to think about the bonding is that it's like a rewards pool, right? Like the Hive rewards pool. And if users are getting liquidated on ex PolyCUB loans, and that PolyCUB is getting put into bonding, it's basically just getting added to that rewards pool. So if you and Neil had existing bonds that you had already bonded, and let's say you're on day 3 and they're slowly paying out over that 5-day window, you would just be able to get a new bond with all that new PolyCUB that's out there in the rewards pool for bonding. So it would simply increase the ROI of new bonds, which would drive in new demand to bond new LP tokens. But it wouldn't affect, I hope I'm answering your question. It wouldn't affect existing bonds, because existing bonds are locked in.
Well, I mean, and actually that piece I didn't ask, but that is good to know. So in the end, then it's not. So is it not going to impact the available supply of PolyCUB, because instead those rewards are getting distributed to bondholders?
I mean, so the bondholders will receive that PolyCUB over the 5 days, but in return, there's more LPs in the treasury, so that creates more stability in the price, and it also just spreads out the impact over 5 days. If it's a flash crash kind of scenario, then that's plenty to mitigate the exposure.
Correct. I guess I still was just trying to get at, when a liquidation happens, if that PolyCUB isn't just being dumped on the market as per a typical protocol and it's going into the bonding, what's the impact on the available liquid supply of PolyCUB? Is that reducing the supply because it's going into the bonding, and those rewards are just basically it's additional awards for bondholders? Or was it almost going to be like the lending protocol is almost like one of us, where it's like, all right, it's taking that PolyCUB. Well, I don't even, how would it, so it's not putting an LP. That's interesting. So it's just adding to the PolyCUB available on the bonding.
Right. Yeah. Just
It's
think
not
of it like
adding
a
it as an
rewards
LP.
pool. Right. No, it's not adding as LP. It's just a rewards pool for bonding. And as the protocol gets any PolyCUB, it's going to add it to the bonding pool, which people will be able to buy from with LP tokens.
Okay. Makes sense.
All right. QSET is asking kind of a tangential question, but we'll do it. Who is the best person to follow to stay informed about newest projects and coins on Hive? So obviously Leo is the only important project on Hive, but
Correct.
but we talk about all kinds of cryptos on LeoFinance. So obviously the curators are is it still 3 people doing the curation?
Yeah, it's What's Up, JK6276, and Beehiver.
Okay, so they're obviously doing their jobs as trying to pick out things to bring to attention to the front page. Then there's the overall community curation that's upvoting stuff to the front, or you just scroll through and kind of look for stuff you like.
When search feature.
It's hard to find new things with search.
No, it's true. It's true.
There's this concept in SEO of new keywords, and it's like something between like 30 and 50% of all keywords searched in any given year were used the first time in that year. So the for people who would design content on old stuff, a lot of times they miss out on new and happening things. Let's see. The One-Up cartel is releasing HBD swap for lower fees than Hive Engine. LeoFinance should offer that as well. There's growing demand for that. Well,
I think we're kind of offering that in a more indirect way, which is instead of swap HBD, we're doing wrapped HBD, like PHBD, for example.
Yeah. So okay, so this is not official LeoFinance commentary on my part, because I am not official Leo anything.
I like the disclaimer.
This is just me. And as much as I love Agrode and Hive Engine and all the great things it's done, total liquidity of everything on Hive Engine is minuscule compared to total liquidity on, let's say, Polygon. So if you want to use your HBD to buy something, outside of the Hive ecosystem anyway, chances are you're better off once this pool is live to wrap your HBD into Polygon and then use PolyCUB.com to swap that wrapped HBD into other assets. You'll probably have less slippage that way, and just easier time going through things instead of doing everything through swap.hive. Although I guess there are a couple other things that are popping up now, but just overall liquidity is going to be way greater on not Hive Engine, as if you're talking about swapping for things outside the Hive ecosystem. And yeah, that was neutral, right?
Well, it's good for Hive. It's just different than doing something that's on Hive, like Hive Engine. And obviously Hive Engine is a second layer on Hive. But the whole idea behind it is that it's good for PolyCUB because it builds the protocol and liquidity. through that, through those fees and through the interest rate of HBD. So it kind of pulls in some value accrual for PolyCUB as a protocol. And then it's good for Hive and HBD, obviously, because we're creating basically the deepest liquidity pool that will exist for. I know for a fact that will be the deepest pool that exists for HBD, and just depending on how much usage we get, it could become one of the deepest liquidity pools for Hive. So what we're doing is basically giving liquidity and giving access to a whole new chain.
Yeah.
And
I will say, I think technically there is an AMM for Hive on Uniswap version 2, but as far as I know, nobody uses it. So it might as well be the only AMM for Hive, because everything else is an order book.
Yep.
And AMMs are superior to order books in all ways, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. 100%.
Eric Wilson is asking, haven't seen Eric around in a while. Does LeoFinance have an easy to set up account backed by email? Just considering the best option to provide new users with the least amount of friction. So is there an easy sign up method, Cal?
There is. You can. We don't have email, but we have SMS. Email will. I think we've got email ready. We just haven't deployed it because it hasn't been tested enough. But is he's in the Discord or no? Yeah, he's in Discord. I just dropped a screenshot. If you go to create a Hive account, you can use SMS and you can create an account really easily. So
yeah. So what is it? Twitter,
SMS,
Twitter, Facebook, SMS, and is that it?
And if you go on Leo Mobile, I'd say the easiest sign up process is actually on Leo Mobile, because you can go on Leo Mobile and you can literally hit Twitter or Facebook and it'll be like snapping your fingers, super easy. If you're on desktop, I would recommend doing the create a Hive account. So you go here, because the MetaMask has been a little spotty lately on desktop. But if you hit get started on leofinance.io, then it pulls up this screen. Then I would hit create a Hive account, and then it'll pull up that other screen I showed, where you can use either Twitter or SMS for verification. And SMS is really cool and easy because it literally just sends you a text. It's like when you sign into Google or something, you hit sign in and it sends you a 5-digit code and you enter that code and then you're good.
Yeah. I was going to create a tutorial for the Alchemist Nation community, and the problem was I ran out of phone numbers. So I was like, crap. So that didn't end up happening. But I'm looking forward to, and I don't know what's my deal with the mobile app, why it just does not work at all, even if I reinstall. But anyway, from what I remember, you can sign up through Facebook on the mobile app.
You can, yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to when that's also pushed to desktop, because that's going to be, at least for me personally, my easiest onboarding tool, because obviously the majority of the community I'm connected to is through Facebook, or they're on Facebook, or we're in similar groups on Facebook. So that's going to be awesome. I think that's a huge value add, even on mobile already, but definitely. And I'm going to use that obviously when I speak at events, like the mobile simple. It's like, yo, download, click Facebook, boom, signed up. Get it done during the conversation.
Yep.
Okay, so I have 2 tangents based on that. So one,
I love tangents.
The first tangent is is LeoFinance mobile app going to be out of test flight, or what's the story there? Second tangent is going to be, you wrote a post yesterday, the day before, about all the signups that are coming in from TikTok videos. If you want to talk about that for a little bit,
yeah,
because those people need easy onboarding options.
Right. So first question about test flight is we're still working on the next, and I'm still pushing to have this done by end of March, maybe mid-April, just depending on how everything goes with the final integrations. But the technically version 1 of Leo Mobile is not ready yet, and we're building things like the search feature, and then obviously some bug fixes for Leo Mobile and a couple of other major things like notifications that I think there's like this set of, and I talked about this actually on Taskmaster and John Golson's podcast, Cryptomaniacs, about what features I believe are necessary in a mobile app, and essentially we've got 80% of those features on Leo Mobile now, but a couple of those features like notifications and searching aren't ready yet. And for me, I don't want to release the mobile app into the full app store until we have those features. So when version 1 is when Leo Mobile goes into iOS App Store. So that is essentially what we're waiting for. Is I want to see notifications, search, and a couple of those major fixes before we go into the App Store. But then we'll go into the App Store, and then I think things will take off for Leo Mobile, and it'll be a cool place to send new people when they want to sign up. And also on that point, I want to talk about like the onboarding process for Leo Mobile is very smooth and understandable, especially compared to something like desktop, or really any other Hive application, because you open Leo Mobile and then it says, literally just gives you like 4 options to sign up. You click one of those options, it takes you like 30 seconds to create an account, and then you're signed in and you can start reading and upvoting stuff. So I think the onboarding process through Leo Mobile is very simple and very cool. And that's kind of it for that. So I think we'll see the App Store in the very near sooniverse. And then in terms of sign up options, we had this whole TikTok thing blow up where we put out this video, and I think it's got close to 20,000 views now on TikTok, and it's kind of cool to see, because the whole TikTok was just based about LeoFinance. So the title was how to earn a monthly income in crypto without investing a penny, and then it showed. So that was like the title, and then it showed LeoFinance.io, and it said sign up to LeoFinance.io and create your first post, and you can see like other people are earning $20, $30, $50 for their articles on LeoFinance. So we put up that video, and within 24 hours, we saw the amount of account signups per day increase by like 10x, and it was really cool to see that. And then I also, when I started seeing all that, I was like, well, let me check all these other KPIs that we've got. So I checked the analytics for LeoFinance.io, and we saw a nice little spike. Then I checked the newsletter, and we saw a spike too, because the newsletter is a little pop-up window on LeoFinance.io in the bottom left that says, enter your email here for daily crypto content and news, and Taskmaster runs that newsletter for us. But I checked the analytics, and the amount of subscribers ticked up that day pretty significantly. So clearly that had an impact, and it had a tangible impact we could see. So that was cool. And the TikTok is actually growing a lot. I think it just hit like 1,600 followers, which obviously isn't that much, but it's growing exponentially. So I'm just kind of extrapolating that growth rate, and yeah, so the head of growth is doing a great job with the TikTok. I see it. I see that becoming one of the main avenues for new signups and new traffic to LeoFinance, because it's kind of like this whole new realm of people, and they're all kind of interested in the quick hit, get money, social media type of thing. So if we frame it correctly, like I think we did with that one video, earn a monthly income in crypto without investing anything other than time. I think if we do more of those, it's going to be really good for web traffic and signups. Yeah. So I want to see more of that. And what she's been doing too is analyzing other crypto influencers on TikTok, and she's been sending me some videos to look at and see what they, basically what they're posting, and it's a lot of garbage. But they have 1, 2, 3 million followers, which is pretty nuts. So
it's a ton of garbage.
Yeah, I really see us hitting 1 million on there at some point soon.
So my only hesitation with that is that, yes, there are people, Taskmasters, making a killing on the blogging side, but there's a quality filter, right? So putting up picture of a cat, unless it's accompanied by chart analysis, like Scaredy Cat, is
I was gonna
not
say, I feel attacked.
is not gonna get you a whole lot. So
Right.
How many of those people will just try one thing and bounce versus stick around and engage as part of the community.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, that's going to hold true regardless of where the user comes from.
That is true.
But
I'm
is
not
it
saying that's
worse?
TikTok's, specifically. I'm just saying.
Yeah, is it worse for TikTok? It might be, because I mean, listen, the reality is TikTok is a great place to market, and I've been on there for whatever it is now, like 8-9 months, and it is also super toxic as well. And Jesus Christmas. But yeah, I mean, it takes instant gratification to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, the retention might hurt in regard to other outlets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I was just saying, I had this idea. I put it in the private channel, but so I have this like new user welcome idea of like hitting everybody who signed up in the last 24 hours, giving them a notification in their app, and then trying to gamify and reward them sharing LeoFinance stuff in other platforms. But it'd be a lot of work.
Yeah.
It would be. I mean, it's a great idea, but definitely would be a lot of work. I just like even just, to step back to the first piece of that. I think that follow-up is a great idea just for user retention. Obviously, that next step would be great because it would promote people to spread the word. But that first, whatever it is, 48 hours in or something, kind of just getting hit with a notification in terms of just whatever it is, just that welcoming message, or, some things that are good to know, or whatever it is, some kind of engagement. I think that would up the retention factor for sure.
Yep. And I think we need to add more gamified elements of reading and commenting, because we actually, me and Mitch talked to Walter several weeks ago about some Facebook group and Facebook marketing stuff, and he had kind of a good point that the amount of content creators on LeoFinance is extremely high relative to the amount of readers. So the question is, how many more content creators do you actually need? Essentially, the way that I frame this, afterwards is essentially we've got a ratio of content creators to content consumers, and I believe that the ratio is very, very imbalanced in favor of the amount of content creators we have. So we could have the same amount of content creators, but have, like, let's just say we have, and I think if you look at the analysis that Dallas does, we have about 1,000 unique accounts creating content every single month on LeoFinance. So if you say that we have the same 1,000 content creators, but then let's say that we onboard 10,000 content consumers who never create a piece of content ever, other than maybe some comments, that would still be an extremely bullish thing for the platform. And I actually think it'd be an extremely healthy thing for the platform. We don't necessarily need 10,000 more content creators, although that'd be nice.
Yes. However, those content consumers only earn if they have stake, because they're not getting upvotes. Right.
So I think, I think we need to figure out more ways to encourage comment engagement. And Taskmaster has done a great job of this. But I mean, if you go on TikTok, just to kind of stick on that, I mean, like that video about LeoFinance got like 200 comments, and there's plenty of other videos, and these people with millions of subscribers get thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of comments sometimes. And those people making those comments are just kind of talking, they're chattering in the comments below the content, and they're not earning anything. They're not, the only thing they're getting out of it is that social engagement. So if we can make it more beneficial to create, if we can make it more obvious that creating comments underneath posts will, first of all, get you instant engagement with, other people who are talking about similar things, on the way, with TikTok, I mean, it's like you make a comment and within like a couple minutes, you might get a reply to that comment. And I think if we can get that to become more of a facet of LeoFinance, it's going to be it's going to make LeoFinance a lot stickier. So Taskmaster, like I said, has done a great job of that with, he basically replies to every comment. and he's doing like 1,000 comments a week or something ridiculous. So we need a bunch of more taskmasters out there. Then we just need some normies to come in and just be making comments. So I want to skew the mobile app. User experience in favor of people who sign up from somewhere like TikTok, and their ambition is not to ever create a piece of content on LeoFinance and if they do create a piece of content, they're going to go through their own rabbit hole of doing that. My ambition is to skew that mobile app so that they sign up, sign in, and within a minute they're looking at crypto content on Leo Mobile, and they can click and make a reply really quick and be engaged in the comments. So the user experience is going to be very heavily focused on signing up, signing in, upvoting, and commenting. And that is going to be the whole way that they earn.
Okay. I can go ahead.
I was just say, it sounds like a job for Project Blank.
Yeah.
So,
well,
and
Project Blank is another version of that, right? Like, but you can still do that on LeoFinance.
Yeah.
With the,
so,
with the
in my mind, commenting is still content creation. So I was not putting that in the same category as the lurkers.
Yeah.
The lurkers.
Well, that's what they. So, so yeah, I mean, if they are creating comments, then that does create a place to get upvotes, and then that does create a cash flow situation in terms of Leo. So I'm on board with all that. It's just those people who are coming from other platforms don't buy stake and don't engage, don't create like a published thing, whether it's a comment or a post or whatever, then they're obviously not going to be earning anything, and that's okay. If they don't want to, they don't have to. But it's just setting that expectation so they understand how the whole rewards ecosystem works, rather than coming in and saying, oh, I didn't get shit, fuck this place.
Well, yeah, I think what Cal was talking about in terms of the mobile app experience, that makes a lot of sense, because Mike D was saying in chat, it's the endless scroll. Like you're not doing that on your desktop, but like the fact is, like, I unfortunately fell into that habit of like, I get in bed and it's like I go on Twitter and next thing I know, I'm fucking scrolling for an hour and it's like 1 a.m. I'm like, what just happened? Right.
Yeah.
So like when you have the Leo mobile app, right, and it's more catered to that. Yeah, obviously, you're not scrolling videos, you're scrolling blog posts, but still, like, just that endless scroll, you can still fall into that, hole, so to speak, of consuming content. Except the difference is, you can vote on stuff and, potentially earn. So I think the mobile app's going to go a long way towards more mass appeal and user retention.
Yeah. And Eric's saying people use Facebook and whatever with no rewards.
Right.
That's all fine. It's about the expectations. It's about understanding. I was given this message. I was given this message on TikTok. How does that translate into crypto rewards in my wallet? And
I actually think a cool lens to look at would be Steam It in the early days, where a lot of us, including myself, came to Steam It because we saw people earning hundreds of dollars for these blog posts, and we're like, oh, I could do that too. And then you start creating blog posts, and I remember making very little on my first couple posts, and then it kind of trended upwards. And I
very little. Come on, you got to step up your game, buddy. I was getting 0 cents for like 26 straight posts.
Yeah. So that's the and Addicted saying very little, more than 0. Yeah, that's the cool thing, is that you came with the expectation that you could get rich, and even though you didn't, you saw that there was some potential there, because maybe you had a post that got $5, and you're like, oh, if it got 5, maybe I can be one of those people that gets 500 someday, and I just need to work harder. So I see what you're saying about the expectations. I also think a little hopium goes a long way as well. So I think the cool balance to find is to teach people that, because like, look at Rune and the way that we found some like really great investments, and PolyCUB obviously, and Cub, and being in the community is a benefit on its own without even earning any Leo. So I think if we can frame it as a way that you can come in here to do 2 things, and that is to get crypto knowledge and crypto alpha about what to invest in. And then the other thing is that, oh, by the way, you're also going to earn some crypto in the background just for commenting and being a monthly active user. I think that's cool. And then I think there's a lot of other things we can do to create more rewards for engagement, like having a having an engagement league where people are earning Leo for being engaged on the platform in the comments, and a lot of stuff like that some community members like Asher and Taskmaster have kind of taken on, and kind of expanding that into like a real, like a gamified thing with like a leaderboard and something that's actually trackable, like, oh, you've made 10 comments today, you're on track to beat Addicted, who made 9 comments today, and 12 comments yesterday.
I don't know if you know this, but you can track things on a blockchain, so it should be easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just about creating the leaderboard, creating the technology, and then just implementing that gamified feature, and then that's kind of the first step. The second step is then to drive the people into it, the people that would be open to using that.
So 2 things. One, I'm pretty sure at this point, I believe Taskmaster is like Gerber, and he's a humanoid and not fully human, because I have no idea how all this stuff comes out. He's an absolute beast. And second, what about in regards to kind of, the way we frame LeoFinance, putting it out to the world? There's all the, kind of earn and learn, or learn and earn, right? There's that aspect, like, come here and participate because you can make money. But how about if we portrayed it, or we put it out there, or, what it is basically making LeoFinance the place for crypto information and crypto knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, we could also frame it that way to basically, quote unquote normies. And then obviously the icing on the cake is, oh, by the way, you could also you can earn crypto for participating, unlike Web 2.0.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's smart or not, but it just seems like it might be a decent idea where we just focus on, and that could just be one of the initiatives. It's just like LeoFinance is the place for crypto information and knowledge, which, isn't too far from the truth. Obviously, it would need to become a little more robust, because we don't cover everything like, an actual news outlet. But, at some point, you have that cult following, like with Seeking Alpha. Like, anyone that is looking for research on stocks that, I guess isn't locked into some service, blah, 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 whatever it is, they go to see, they're going to Seeking Alpha.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's going to be the multiple ways that you frame it. Like, for authors, you come in and you create high quality crypto content, and you get rewarded like an author on Seeking Alpha. For readers, you come in and you find alpha, for your investing. For people who want to engage and have conversations, you come in and you're kind of doing a bit of both. You're earning crypto and you're getting alpha by being a participant. So I think it would be beneficial to kind of map all this stuff out and put it into the white paper, which is basically like, what audiences are we trying to market to, and how are we chasing them, and what are the KPIs for kind of tracking all of that?
Yeah, there are strategy maps for laying all that out. That makes it easy to see. Yeah, worth doing as an exercise for sure, to make sure that you're there's the 3 M's. There's market, median, message. Who you're addressing, how are you reaching them, and what are you telling them, as far as getting things out into the universe. And you're talking about alpha. I mean, just look at PolyCUB, right? So I was just looking at the market cap's $2.8 million right now. That was, months of alpha laid on the community for, that was prominently displayed. You didn't have to search for it. If you just logged into LeoFinance over the past 6 months, it was there.
Right.
And that was all created since March 5th, so 17 days. So there's there's your payback, right? And I still brag that I got into Rune at 11 cents, but that's
I did not, but I did get most of it sub $1.
Yeah. And that was even smaller and tighter knit than LeoFinance, because it was on the LeoFinance Discord that Prof K was just saying, hey, there's this new thing. I was like, that's cool. I'll throw $500 at it. and then I went to the moon. So yeah, I mean, there is definite value in just being around.
Right.
That is true for sure.
So speaking of being around, occasionally me being around stumbles across a decent idea for names of things. And
Oh.
I was pondering the, outpost slash, like, I'm not feeling prides at all. Sorry. But my thing is, the irony is the best word for it is the one we can't use, and it is kingdoms. Like, we're launching our next kingdom.
True.
How easy does that work? How easy does that flow? The problem is kingdoms are something that already exists, which ironically, Cal gave me the credit for naming, which I don't even remember doing, but I'll take it. So I was thinking about this, and it's like, all right, well, then what's bigger than a kingdom? And really, it's an empire. But I'm like, all right, that sounds kind of like evil. Like, oh, launching on this empire. Although I guess it could also, have that, people that are, all about it. And then you have your haters, which is good, because anytime you have haters, generally you're having success. But I think a softer word that could be just as big is the word dynasty, and calling them dynasties. And we're launching our next dynasty, because I mean, it sounds like, hey,
It's like a series of kingdoms.
Hashtag winning, right?
Yeah.
You think about sports like dynasty, whatever it was, Lakers back in the day, friggin' Patriots, all that. It's like dynasty, Yankees, it's like dynasties. But it doesn't have that, I guess, evil feel to it like empire, which we can thank Star Wars for basically putting those words together. So yeah, that was just randomly my thought. Calling them dynasties.
I do like that.
Now the question is, how do I trademark this and get my residuals? Now, I gotta go talk to Taskmaster. I feel like he makes money somehow. No, but yeah, I think dynasties would be pretty cool. But so that's my throw in. Boz just says franchise. That's not bad either. I mean, because it is sort of a franchise. It's but yeah.
Well, I can tell you how Taskmaster makes money. He puts out high quality stuff every day for
85
years.
times a day. I don't even know how. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, there's no way he's human. Like, there's no way. Like, his posts are long form, like 4 a day, multiple accounts. I struggle to get 1 a day done.
I get 1 every month, and then that's about it.
Because you focus your time other places, and that's also like kind of with me. Although I don't, I'm assuming he's also invested in the DeFi platforms too. But yeah, it's impressive. Well, it's kind of like even back in the day with Roland. Roland was putting out 4 posts a day, like 4 quality posts a day, like quality stock analysis, quality crypto. I'm like, how in the hell? So to each their own. Everyone's got their own bandwidth and capacity and efficiency in terms of how they work and how fast they work. So
yeah, for me, it's tough to do anything other than just click harvest at this point.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like, that conversation I had with that real estate investor before we jumped on, we were talking about crypto, obviously, because he wanted to get more exposure to it. And with that, I told him, I was like, I gotta be honest with you, it's tough for me to be even interested in real estate right now. I was like, DeFi has kind of ruined me.
It really has. The this is kind of far afield, but the mortgage rates are back over 4%. Pending sales are down. It's we might be in for an ugly turn in the real estate market. I've got, obviously I do taxes for a living, and I've got a lot of real estate clients who are brokers and agents, and they had killer years last year, and I'm not sure that's going to continue for this year.
Yeah, and again, like you said, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm back and forth on what I think is going to happen with the market over the next 12 to 24 months. Obviously, that a lot of that has to do with what the Fed does. But I don't know. I think I'm just going to roll with the hyperinflation theory.
Yeah.
As opposed to the crash theory.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for the inflation argument.
Yeah, I mean, and here's another thing in regards to crypto, because people always ask me, I have a belief, and again, it could be dead ass wrong, but I believe that we're not going to see that uncorrelation of crypto to the stock market until we actually see our next recession, next stock market crash. And crypto, I believe, will come down with it. But I think that's when the shift is going to come in mindset in terms of people looking at crypto as an alternative investment, a store of value. And then you're going to start seeing the uncorrelation come back. So I don't know what I'm right about Addicted, but the fact that Addicted said I'm right makes me feel powerful. In fact, when are we doing Leo Fest? I don't want to call it LeoCon. I don't know. I feel like con. I don't understand why that has become a thing. Makes me think of a con man, but
It's convention.
we're doing Leo. I know, but it's just here con.
It's a conventional convention term.
Screw that. Whenever Leo Fest happens, I am mandating that Addicted shows up so we can finally find out who this guy is.
Maybe this year. We'll see. I'd like to do it.
Well, you need to buy Leo Island first. That's really the
Correct.
key thing.
I mean,
Yeah,
that would be next level, but we could just do it in Florida like every other convention.
Yeah, it's always a possibility. So I know there's still lots of chatter, but I don't see any more questions. Do you guys?
No, I think it was just chatter. People just going back and forth on topics.
You think that's going to show up on to the Leo Fest?
That's funny. I'm sure plenty
Probably.
of people will. That's a good question, though. I mean, is the community large enough at this point where it makes sense to do a Leo Fest? I feel like it is.
You only need like 20 people to have a fest.
Well, true, but I'm more so like, more like a big event, but that's true. Leo Fest, we should do it.
I think with Leo
People
Fest, it
want
would
it.
be primarily about getting new people in. So I think what we would, I think my idea for it would be that I would go out and get like some basically pay some really high quality crypto speakers to come in and, say get like 10 really, high profile crypto speakers. And then, we would release it, and obviously everyone who wants to come from Leo would come, probably get like a significantly discounted ticket, and they could buy it in Leo. And then we would market those tickets for the conference to people that aren't on Leo, because I think a big point of Leo Fest is not to have all Leo people together. It's to have people from the outside get familiar with Leo kind of indirectly by Leo being the host of the party. So by hosting the party, we can get a lot of awareness and attention, I think, from and also from people that are very high quality target audience, which would be high profile crypto investors and speakers and stuff like that. So
I mean, honestly, that's smart, bringing speakers. I mean, it's kind of like we're doing, with the 100 Millionaire Summit in October. I mean, we're bringing in 2 or 3 high level real estate guys, in addition to like, us coaches that speak on our specific topics, because it's always going to draw more people, and it's going to draw people that are outside of your existing community. So
yep.
I like it. So you want to almost do it more like a conference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Not just a meetup, but a conference.
Yeah, no, it's great.
With a meetup too.
Yeah, so you still have some set agenda with speakers and, like you said, outside crypto influencers, so to speak. So apparently I know my soul's got hookups in Cancun. I can get the venues and production easily. You deal with getting the speakers at Cal. I'm down for Cancun.
Sounds fun. I like Cancun.
Apparently he's got the hookups.
Yeah, reminds me I need to get my passport expired. I need to get a new one.
I renewed mine. What was it, last year? I think I still haven't used it since I renewed it, but
do it in Portugal. Buy a house while you're at it and enjoy no taxes on crypto.
that is
Doesn't work for US people though.
Yes, unless you renounce your citizenship.
Right. For US,
I'm not gonna lie. Something that's come across my mind for
Yeah.
future possibilities.
yeah, the light option is Puerto Rico for US people.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Which there's people in the Steam community that have done that.
Oh yeah,
So
it's super popular in crypto in general because it's 4% capital gains. So it's
4%.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness. But technically it's only on gains after you move there. Not that anyone's ever going to frame it that way.
Not in crypto. No.
No, it's like, how do you just send it all the wallet? I made all this in the last month. Woohoo, YOLO.
Who knows? Yeah, but like in traditional stock ownerships, like if you have a brokerage account, then you move to Puerto Rico, then the only part excluded from the US taxes is the percentage time you spent in Puerto Rico as a Puerto Rican citizen or resident, not citizen. And they actually have that tracked in stocks, but not as much in crypto.
Yeah. Well, Mike D was saying apparently if you announce your citizenship, you got to pay like an exit fee of 20 to 30% of your assets.
Yeah, so the exit tax is basically they do a net present value of your net worth, and you pay capital gains tax more or less.
Man, crypto wallets for the win.
Yeah, so it's like you sold everything and then you leave, and then from then on you're good.
I don't know, but on a random note, did anyone notice that when Cal got up, that there's a Batman logo on the back of his chair?
I didn't see it.
Oh, you can't
Yeah.
see
I don't know.
when you totally got up, your chair actually appeared. Since I don't think you did the green screen. And I
Yeah.
saw the Batman. That was epic.
Oh yeah. It's the what is this? Actually, Marky Mark told me to get this chair a long time ago because
Nice.
I got a bad back. It's the Secret Lab Titan chair, and I've
I might
got
have
the
to check
Batman
that.
edition.
I might have to check that out because I
It's
have
very comfortable.
freaking sciatica issues. So my left hip gives me problems. The chair I'm in now, I finally pretty much does the job, but it took me many, many choices.
Yeah, I went through a lot of different chairs, DX Racer, all sorts of chairs,
That
gaming
looks
chairs.
though, it looks like it's in terms of the I forgot the stupid word, ergonomics of it. It looks real good, but what is it like for me? I need more cushion. Anything that's like hard is when it kind of like, is it really soft or is it pretty firm?
I would compare it, it's kind of in the middle. I would compare it to kind of like a really comfortable like leather seat in a car, like a nice car. That's how
Okay,
like
yeah, I'm not.
compare it to like if you ever sat in like a Lexus or something, that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, it's
Like
my
a
last
very
car was a
nice, like
Lexus.
high-end leather.
Gotcha. Yeah, that might work. Yeah, because actually I realized that was a thing because when I got rid of my Lexus and the Infinity I got, that seat was not nearly as comfortable. I actually ended up having to put like a cushion with a seat cover for it to not give me drama. So old people problems.
This definitely just turned into old man chat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And moving along. Well, ironically, Cal's not old man, but he has old man back.
Yeah, very old man back.
So, but anyway,
Yeah,
we
I've got
digress.
bucket seats in my car. That's what helps me because then you don't move around at all
Nice. I mean,
like that.
listen, in the end, Neil, all this hustling I'm doing to raise capital for PolyCUB and this goodness, I'm just expecting that 2 years from now, Cal has a Ferrari delivered to my place as a thank you. It's basically what it's become.
Let's see.
We'll see.
Very
We'll see if,
possible.
yes, we'll see. We'll see if we get conversion on any of these wealthy leads.
One big
Time will only
conversion.
tell.
You're only one
Exactly.
big conversion away from a Ferrari.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, I got to see the small. It's funny too. These smaller people that have come in. I don't know how to even show that. I feel awkward asking people for their wallets. It's like, hey, what's your wallet address? Let me send you some Matic. But anyway, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if we got any more questions. I still see people pitching different countries for LeoFest.
LeoFest is
I
going to be a
mean,
big thing.
I don't need an excuse to travel overseas. Let's do it. I feel like the majority of the Leo community though is US based, as opposed to like back in the day with Steamfest. Like there was a large foreign community compared to the US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot less non-English content on Leo compared to Hive in general or some other communities. So yeah, I'm gonna say majority, mostly US based,
Yep.
but if and when such a time comes, there's certainly some polling we could do to figure out what is a convenient place for the most number of people.
Yep.
Well, if it's later this year, the weather's perfect in Florida, and there's plenty of flights to all these tourist destinations. Just saying.
I'm not
Easy
opposed to
flights.
Florida. I think it would be a
Easy.
lot easier to get speakers in Florida because they're probably already there for some other crypto conference.
Yeah.
This is true. So, I mean, honestly, like Orlando and Miami are basically the two hotspots for all things conventions, but that's also because it's been the state that's been wide open, so to speak, in regards to all the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's becoming the crypto hub of the country. So
Miami definitely is, and that's because the mayor is smart as hell, and is crypto friendly and created Miami Coin and all that. So it's out of control. There's literally a major crypto conference in Miami every other weekend.
I like it.
yeah.
All right. Well, we've been on for 2 hours now. Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh yeah.
And
That is true.
I got to call it too, so I got to get going.
You
Sounds
just gotta
good.
go make that tax money.
That's right.
Crushing it.
All right.
Cool.
All
So-
right, guys.
I guess I'm all set for this week. And any previews you want to drop? Any hints before we go?
Yeah, this is gonna be a big week. We had some PR last week with Cointelegraph. Obviously we still got more PR kind of lined up, and a Nomad Soul put out this article. This is going to be a big week.
Where's more tea? We need a meme.
It's going to be a big week. Yeah, so a Nomad Soul put out this article, and there was basically like 50 different small level crypto news outlets that covered PolyCUB just in the last like 48 hours. And there's a lot, there's kind of a lot on the docket for marketing that hasn't been done yet. I'd say we're probably only about like 50% of the way through all the PRs that we actually paid for. And then obviously his article covered a lot of PRs that we didn't pay for. Those were just getting picked. They kind of piggyback off of the big news outlets like Cointelegraph. So, I know Mitch has loved to ask when Cointelegraph, when CoinDesk, and we've gotten Cointelegraph once. We've got a second Cointelegraph article, and then we've got our CoinDesk article. So
Nice.
a couple other big ones. And obviously that podcast I did on Bitcoin.com converted really well. We got something else coming with them. So definitely don't think that the marketing week has ended. This is the marketing week 2.
And the
Alright.
yeah, and that's and it's the marketing week gets the snowball of marketing rolling because there's residual effects. So
Absolutely.
I mean, and honestly, seriously though, I just want to say props for being willing to spend the money and do marketing, because anytime anyone's got a business, some people don't want to spend the dollars it takes to grow, and you have not been hesitant to do that. And I think it's more clutch than people realize. So
Nice. Yeah.
round of applause for Cal.
I believe in this stuff. PolyCUB's going to $100.
I mean, listen, I will tell you this: when people, ask me about PolyCUB and everything, like guys that are like into crypto but like have messed with DeFi a little bit, and they're just like, well, what makes LeoFinance and PolyCUB and all that stuff better? A big part of it is I was just like, listen, the founder of it is not playing the short game. Like we're building an ecosystem here. It's not just quick money grabs. So I think there's something to be said for that, and it's something that I definitely put out there when people ask me, like what makes this better. So at least in regards to the esoteric or environmental part of it compared to other DeFi.
All right. So the downside of PolyCUB going to $100 is I won't be doing taxes anymore. So
Neil, I
No
told you I
more.
wasn't switching unless you guaranteed me.
when
You're doing-
retirement? When
Neil's doing
retirement?
his taxes and my taxes for the next 20
That's it.
years.
When retirement?
Yeah,
I will pay you in PolyCUB.
maybe. All right. Okay. So I gotta go,
Alrighty.
guys.
Yeah.
It's been a good one. And,
Yeah, it's
we'll
fun.
everybody next week on the 29th.
Yep. We'll see you when PolyCUB's $10 on the 29th.
I'll see you on the next soon day.
All right.
All
Have a good
right.
one,
See you
All
guys.
right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.